Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining today's workshop. We're excited to have you here. Today's session will be led by our Director of International Sales, Dr. Melissa Cow.
Thank you, William. Hi, hello everyone. Thanks for joining the webinar today. I hope you can see my my screen there. So today we're going to talk about for large format store and using the Centroid 48. So we're currently focusing on this launch of our new Centroid 48. Is a single unit that will support multiple high performance processes. So it's capable of post-processing up to 48 IP cameras streams simultaneously. So this is our biggest at the moment. It is a major milestone for us, and we're excited because it addresses the core limitations that large format stores have struggled for many years. So previously, the challenges were the hardware costs were prohibitive to do an analysis inside a large format store. The coverage, because the coverage per device was very limited, and so you probably need a horrendous amount of devices there, and that obviously makes it very difficult to justify full store analytics. Prohibitive. So so as a result, of course, then most retailers couldn't effectively capture the in-store activity at scale. But yet this visibility is actually crucial, is critical for them, because in many cases you need to track a significant portion of your store's internal space in order to understand your shopper movement across your space, to visualize, a staff and shopper interactions, and to quantify how the different zones are performing. So this is especially relevant for like convenience store that open long hours, for large departmental stores, for hardware stores, big electronic stores. So all these stores is particular relevant. So this webinar is particularly relevant for this. So because there is a need to analyze the shopper engagement patterns and to know how shoppers navigate and interact with the store elements and how the staff operate, whether they are in the back room or on the shop floor. So all these insights are vital for you to be able to benchmark the high performing and the low performing store, to identify your best practices, and to support obviously continuous improvement across the network. So this is a series of workshop, and today we're going to focus on part 3, which will introduce the large format stores, how they can benefit from using the Centroid 48. This is a key breakthrough, as I mentioned, and that is now economically feasible to measure staff productivity, in-store service quality, and ultimately you want to see sales conversion improvements. We can now provide the metrics that were previously cost prohibitive. And this is made possible because we can leverage your existing CCTV infrastructure, which you have already invested in. So you don't need additional camera. So all the cabling, server racks, and all those, they are in there already because you have invested on those. So the Centroid 48, it offers a plug and play solution. So we're going to talk about that, meaning all your installation costs will be very low and the integration is very straightforward. Part 1 of this series of workshop, we will cover the basic people counting for small businesses. So unlike enterprises, small businesses often have 1 or 2 staff, and they have a limited budget, and also minimal technical capacity, but they still deserve to access the full-scale data analytics just as much as any other large enterprise as well. So we have designed a system that is cost-effective, low maintenance, and can be operable by non-technical staff, and still provides the essential business insight. Now for this one, we're going to, because if you're managing 2, 5, or 40 stores, is vastly different, especially when stores are geographically dispersed. So especially for retail chain, this is the part that we'll talk more specifically, including how you do single sign-on, because your team is wide and spread out, or the integration, and maybe franchise account management as well. On the fourth part, we're going to talk about so coming back to the part 3 as well, we're going to often you have multi-teams as well using the system. So we're also going to talk about all your different security your different stakeholders, your security team, IT team, your business analysts, your store operating team, your sales, your marketing team, all those. How are we going to maximize the data value for all the stakeholders? So V9 is our platform we built for enterprise capabilities. So you can have multi-account access, different stakeholder specific dashboards, franchise accounting integration. So if even your franchisee can be part of the system. So from there, we can move on to maximize the data value for all the different stakeholders. And we have many apps and workflows, and all of them are customized for different industry. With different industries best practice. We designed to help your different stakeholders to do things like how they track event-driven uplift, how to measure staff productivity by the roster, and turn all this to optimize business operations. Yeah, so we don't just collect the data, we also need to measure the business impact, whether it's reducing costs or increasing sales. So this is where we're going to cover more on that one. Yeah, and part 5, we will talk about AI. So AI is everywhere, is a big topic now, especially starting this year. Everyone's talking about it. But the real question is, how do you use your own data to train your own AI model for your own business? This is key. So you're not going to want to use a generic ChatGPT for your business, because it's not going to be relevant. So we're going to use that one. And this is where we're going to talk more about it. It is absolutely achievable now, and we have already seen real results among the retailers that we're working with, and they're already starting to use. Because with our system, you will see that you are collecting a huge amount of data from your footfall, from the dwell time, from the shopper path, from the staff interaction patterns, and your seasonal conversion behavior. So all these event impact, even the weather-driven traffic trends. So AI models are data hungry, and the more you feed them, the more powerful they can become. They can give you a lot of simulation results, predictions results, recommendation results. So over time, millions or even billions of these data points, your AI model is going to get very smart, much like the ChatGPT, but it's just that this is very specific for your own business, because you train it with your own data. So with this, you can run simulation. We're going to talk a little bit of those. So for example, a question for an example is, what if the weather is good and we move the bargain bins to the front of the shop, and we shift the women's section to the back, and all of this, what will it happen on the Mother's Day? Mother's Day, Sunday, all happening on there. What is the outcome? So you can run this simulation before it comes to Mother's Day. And you can then say, all right, this simulation, the results wasn't very good. Try another simulation. Then you can choose the one that is going to give you a much preferable results, and you run that on Mother's Day. And then you actually then track it on Mother's Day as well. So to see if it's what it is aligned with the simulation, the prediction, and then you can continuously training your AI model with that. So the power with AI actually lies in, as I mentioned, running hundreds of simulations, not just one. So you can recursively ask the AI to run 500 variations and then identify the most optimal one. And so this is what we're going to talk about there. So it's very, very exciting, interesting on that. So now comes back to this. So we, you probably already know, so the black box theory for retailers. So once again, it highlights the limitation we face. So in a black box theory for retailers, so we already know it focuses on the idea where there is a stimulus. So the stimulus could be, the people that are coming in, or you put a promotion, and then the action and the results, which ultimately would be the sales. This is what the results you're wanting to see. But the process in between, it remains unseen. So the psychology of the customer seeing your promotion on the website or on your shop window, that's stimulus. So the stimulus can be anything like your store environment and things like this. And what happening in here? Did it impact them coming in? And then have you got those product on the shelf? What is the placement of the shelf? Where do you put the shelf? And all this, and then where's the so your staff interaction and all those. So all these psychological processes in between at the moment is inferred, not observed, because you have to guess it, right? So, and beyond just inferring the motivation, we still need to understand what actually happened inside the store. What action did the shopper actually take? Did they actually go to the shelf with the promotion? What data point can we capture here? Yeah. So, so this is what we're trying to look at, and these are the crucial elements in visualizing, measuring what actually took place, and then only then we can begin to model it. What went wrong? Your promotion actually was effective, and why some stores performed better with this and why some stores didn't, and why certain teams outperformed the others. So what actually goes in between? So let's have a look. So this is at the moment you have no insight why shopper leave without buying, even though if you have a lot of promotion on. So what we can measure for you is the engagement heat map inside your store. Did they actually go to that shelf? And how long did they linger in front of a shelf? And what's the bounce rate? Because then you can identify the dead zone. You can look at if there's a poor layout or a weak merchandising. Another problem you have currently is you can't track the impact of promotions. So what we can measure is you can compare your footfall, your engagement, your conversion, your staff interaction, your path map, or before and after or during the promotion. So you can then know which campaigns actually work down to the SKU level. Now, you may not know how your staff affect sales, because you could not measure it. So now what we can measure is the time at the front of store versus the time the staff is at your bedroom, and the staff shopper interaction. So all these, you can now measure staffing efficiency, not just staffing presence. Your roster is telling you your staff should be present at that time, but how efficient was that? We can also, for example, you have a queue mismanagement. That will cost your sales because they can abandon the queue. So what we can measure is the real-time queue monitoring and the abandonment tracking. So you can quantify lost revenue due to wait times or improve the service allocation. Another one is that you have no link between the traffic to sales. There's no link in between. At the moment, you have a linear one. If you have increase in footfall, you want to see a equal increase in sales, but that's normally not that in real life. So what is happening in between? So what we can measure is, of course, your shopper count, the demographic, the behavior inside the store to match with your POS system. Yeah, so then you can then understand the true conversion and if there's any missed opportunity on that. So, we can solve many of these challenges now, as we have just highlighted. But the question is probably, why hasn't it been done until now? So obviously, retailer know their own problems far better than anyone else, including us. So you know your problem more. The reason it hasn't been addressed is because not until recently it has been technically impossible because you don't have the in-store data. There's no way to accurately track the in-store shopper activity. The obstacles were clear. The technology wasn't prohibitively high. Devices were too expensive, and only just devices, the cabling, installation, all involved your heavy engineering work. And even when the system were in place, they could only detect movement. So it's very limited data for you because until you could distinguish between the shopper and staff, which a lot of the current system couldn't do that. You can't really get very meaningful data other than you can't even get heat map because your heat map is going to be skewed by your staff own movement inside the store. So, and this is precisely the core challenge we are now going to overcome it. Because once again, as the cost comes down, the technology ready, and the technology adoption curve, so all of this then now is ready. So talk a little bit more about this. I think you all know about the technology adoption curve. So innovator is usually the first one to adopt any new technology for that, and then followed by the early adopters and then the early majority. So what we're showing here is that the early adopters are already seeing the great results. A lot of our retailers that have already been with us, they're already starting to use AI. They're already seeing great results. And now we believe it's the right moment for early majority to step in and embrace the technology because the value is clear. The early majority, however, is not primarily focused on the novelty of the technology. They are more looking for solutions that are ready for plug and play, and that's easy to integrate, and most importantly, they delivers concrete business benefit they can leverage on. So we think we're ready for now for that. So let's talk a little bit more about the hardware first, where we are bringing the Foot4Cam Centroid series. This is where we are very excited about because it's already performing exceptionally well in some real deployments. The key to its success is the cost-benefit ratio. The performance to price ratio is unmatched at the moment by anything that is currently available in the market. Yes, there are solutions from CCTV manufacturer like Hikvision and others in the market, but they do not come close to the processing power that we have in our Centroid, nor the sophistication of our analytics, because CCTV devices, they're still very focused on the security side. That is a big market, big solution for them. So they're kind of like, we can also do this, but they're not focused in actual people counting in-store analytics on there. So they don't have the depth of metrics that we provide, in such as the staff movement tracking, staff recognition, and so forth. Yeah. So we have the data sheet here, which you can click on, that is there here. And this tells you the CCTV requirement of the devices that you have. So most of the devices that you have now would be compatible. If not, just give us your make and model and we can check for that. Yeah, so we have the Centroid 8, we have 3 variants, 16 and 48. So this will talk about, you know, what can be what each one can do, and all that. So it is so additionally with that, we also have customization that we can offer for that. So with all these AI analytics and also the customized dashboard as well. So which is a critical factor for retailer because a lot of time you needing tailored insights across a large scale deployment. So at this point, we think Centroid series is likely to be the only viable solution in the market for covering a large area at such a low cost. We're going to cover a little bit more on this on the SAS model shortly, and that is what makes it very powerful and unique. And you can we have a video here that you can look at that talk a little bit about the Centroid, where we can. Is a new generation shopper analytics. So we can use your or the CCTV that you have up to 48 per box, and so it's a significant cost savings. So we can distinguish staff from customer, their demographic, age and gender, and shopper journey. So, you know, are they engaging it? Are they looking at it? And we then categorize the different behavior, whether they are a casual shopper or a determined shopper, or where they're indecisive. So all this, it can be done with the Centroid. So we are now offering something on a SaaS model because we are now ready for that, for a zero capex AI-powered analytics service with your existing CCTV infrastructure. Why we offer this is so that the customer has no risk because it's zero capex, and you can also on demand scale up or scale down as you need it. So the key point here we're trying to address is the perceived risk. So as with any new and revolutionary technology, there's always understandably some hesitation. So, but what we have learned is this, that customers are willing to pay as long as they see a clear value. If they can clearly see the value there, and they're willing to pay. So to make it easy for retailers to get started, whether as a trial or a pilot, we have removed the major barriers. So we removed the upfront hardware costs, and you have no additional cabling because we're reusing your CCTV. So all the cabling is already there. So you reduce costs not just on hardware, but also on your cabling and a minimal installation effort. You also do not need install AI or analytic team from day one. You don't need them because the system is already there, ready. But if you do, we will train your AI team as well, so they don't have to do the fundamental part. They can do, the more higher level part on there because it already comes with a lot of apps and AI engine all behind it. So we'll talk a little bit more on the pricing. So it's from there per camera per month, and it can also cover quite a wider area. So look at your CCTV camera, whatever it sees, how it covers. So we have seen some customers with their CCTV camera, one camera can cover up to 1,000 square feet. Obviously, depending how you mount your camera, but that's what it covers. So if your camera covers that, we can analyze that. And for that. So of course, the key differentiator, crucially for us, is still a customized service that we tailored specifically to each customer. Especially in the retail sector, your business is very different from all the other businesses. So not all one fit all. Now you can have a quick look on this agreement here. So we're just talking a little bit more on there and kind of the fees. This is a from a device, how much it would be and what kind of SLA and your obligation and so forth is there. So you can click on here to have a look on that. So still coming back to the why now, because the technology is finally ready. So domain ready metrics, we have a lot of that, and it become very reliable and also ready for deployment. So it's not previously, it's not simply, it just could not be done even if you had the budget. The technology just simply wasn't there because the moment before you could actually distinguish the staff from the shopper or really using the AI, then you couldn't do that, and if you couldn't track your shopper path, if you couldn't extract demographic insight, then even if you have the budget for a very expensive system, what the system could deliver will be very limited. So now the technology is ready for have all this thing there. So for example, there's another video here you can click on to play, and also is privacy first because we put a masking. You can see a privacy mask on top of it, so you're all fully compliant to any privacy law. You have that, and you can look at this whole area here with the tracking path. You can see we're actually following everyone and distinguish between staff and customer, and you can measure how long they stand in front of that shelf, and if how many people are queuing here, how long does it take the staff to serve a customer, and all this so forth. So mainly because now is because importantly, first thing, of course, is technology is ready. And then the second thing is the pricing is very attractive. Is and obviously why Footfall Cam is because our price is now is 20 times more affordable than before. So on the hardware cost, we're proposing to do a SaaS model. So you have zero CapEx costs, while other vendor, it could be up to 5,500 and for a 48 system. The SaaS model, our monthly fee is $350 per device, compared to other vendor could be easily in the $40 per device. And you can reuse your CCTV video. So in here, for example, if you're using CCTV, as I mentioned, like this is one camera view that could cover that wide area. And of course, then you can then get your heat map on there to get all this touch shopper journey and different touch point. For that. Another thing is because Fit4Cam, we are is purpose built and is retail ready, so we can customize all this AI model for you. So what we offer is an end-to-end ecosystem that includes your customized firmware, hardware, purpose-built software and AI models, and industry-specific metrics. And we also have a full support structure there, including from the consultation to a trained reseller network that can really advise you on the system that you should have and how it should be set up. So all of this is specifically designed to meet the needs of retailers. So, and even tailored further for the different retail segments. So which we'll highlight in more detail shortly. So each different retail vertical, from convenience store, department stores, luxury boutique showrooms, fashion retailers, hardware stores, they all have their unique set of priorities. So not everyone just want a footfall counting. They have different pain points, different priorities, and operational metrics. So some focus on their staff productivity and operational compliance, and some more prioritize the in-store shopping experience. So we recognize that one size doesn't fit all. So that's why we design our system to be fully tailored to your operational needs. So with our platform, you can get reports and alerts. You can align the KPIs per store format and a fully managed analytics service. So you don't need to worry about technical overhead or data integrity or maintaining the system. We take care of that. So it's all automatic on there. So your job is to extract the value from the insights, and ours is to make sure you can do that without a friction. So as we mentioned just now, the key challenge on there was high costs and also a fragmented deployment, because you might have to have multiple disconnected systems, like a separate people counting solution, a separate Wi-Fi analytics platform like a Cisco Meraki to give you like shopper path, visit duration, and you may have a separate CCTV network for your security and to get some of those data on there. So when you have these separate, then you require different vendor, different integration, different maintenance, and obviously all these different costs on there. So we replaces all this into a one unified system. So you're combining the video analytics, people counting, behavioral tracking in a flexible platform that can be customized for your business. So it's not just delivering measurable business benefit, because if we can't deliver that, you won't subscribe to it. So that's why everything we do is designed to justify its own existence through a tangible ROI. Yeah. Now, the other one is the lack of awareness of actionable in-store data. So, so the early majority, as we just talk about the technology adoption curve, going to the early majority, they're still largely unaware that you know, what are those metrics that you can get. How you can identify all this staff movement, the dwell time, shop interaction. So now we have what used to cost thousands per sensor can now be delivered at a fraction of the cost. As we mentioned just now, 20 times lower, and with far more advanced metrics and capabilities now. So many decision makers are still unaware that there are metrics that can now be operationalized. So you can look at, so it's not just giving you insight. It's not just so that, oh, you're aware now this store is performing better than the other. Now you're actually going to be able to change that into an operational actions that you can then get your staff to execute it, and it can be integrated into the daily staff routine, like things with alerts and changes onto their what they should be working on. So this is used to drive the actionable insight, not just statistical reports. Yeah. So we're here to bridge the gap, and that's why we're always saying seeing is believing. So trial is the key. So we encourage you just to try it out. So we have removed, so you don't have to commit to high, heavy upfront costs. So just run it in one store and see the difference for yourself. So the third thing is obviously tackling the black box. So the in-store behavior has long been a black box. It's difficult to visualize, to measure, and to optimize. So that's where Food4Chem Excels will work with you to define the specific metrics for the different retail format. And these metrics will help you collect the data points for each of the store, so you can take actionable steps immediately. So you have monthly review for that and weekly review, but with all these actionable points real time, you can take steps immediately. Then, of course, from your monthly review, you can revise that, optimize that daily process, and you can later feed this into an AI modeling for a prescriptive analytics. So ultimately, this brings a greater clarity of what's happening inside each store, so you can enable a wiser decision, cost savings on your operation, and of course the sales uplift. That's what we're wanting to see. So what many retailers are adopting it is because we're not just providing you a insightful tool to know your store better, but it's actually a strategic advantage to stay ahead of their competitors. So retailers are using that because now they can make strategic move even on a real-time basis compared to their competitor. That's a great thing. So now let's look at some like real use cases. Just now I mentioned about the different vertical. So we're going to look specifically now. We will look at a few cases. This one specifically into a large hardware store. Yeah, this is different from, they operate very differently from like the fashion retail or the luxury retail. The biggest focus for a hardware store or a electronics store is focus on staff performance. So are their staff actively engaging in stocking the shelves, or are they spending enough time on the shop floor versus their back room? So how are they spending those time? When a customer needs help, for example, in this zone, do you have a staff there? How long does it take a staff to come over here to help out? So this comes down to heat map of the staff distribution, heat map of the customer, the proportion of the time the staff spend on stocking or customer engagement, the proportion of time they spend on the shop floor over their back room, and also the ability to benchmark your high-performing stores and team against those that need improvement. Because in here, conversion rate might not be the dominant KPI. The product availability, the queue times, the store organization, the staff, like activity and all this, these are probably more they are focusing on. So these are the metrics that we can measure. So we have a case studies here. So if we look at here, so as I mentioned just now, all the customer service visibility, shelf replenishment, monitoring, shopper behavior insight for this. So these are the key capabilities we can unlock. Your shopper heat map, as we mentioned, the staff, location, the customer engagement, the shelf gap, and replenishment metrics, and so forth. And these are, we have a proposal that you can have a look as well, what we're going to propose to you on there. And the competitive edge over like the Hikvision or CCTV, an immediate value from a pilot, and your what kind of the modules and metrics that you're going to get. So from the shopper profile, from footfall, engagement, entry conversion, engagement, dwell time, or that's group size demographic, to staff as well. So the on-floor presence, so percentage of the operating hours that they spend on the shop floor on there, and then how many time they spend on the stockroom time, idle time, where the time they were stationary, they are not engaging with customer, and the staff shopper ratio, engagement coverage. So the percentage of shopper, the engaged shopper that actually also have a staff interaction for that, and how long they spend on there, the response lag, the time between a shopper is engaged in a zone to a arrival of a staff. So all this shopper behavior on that, first touch zone, the hot zone, the dead zone, the time spent on those dwell to buy ratio, all this, and of course then also operational health. A lot of all these hardware store, they are like the shelf fill rate. They have delivery, they're coming in. So the box on the floor, alert, and percentage of the operating times the box was left there, and from the box to big shelf. So all these things, queue and all those. So the performance scorecard is like you will set a target. If the store A is below the target, and what is the benchmark? So the benchmark could be your chain average and so forth, and then you can give it a status that is underperforming in which aspect for that, and to per store. Then you can then see which you actually needed immediate attention, so forth. Yeah. So let's look at a different one. A departmental store we have in F8 spanning 5 floors. And so for this one, the departmental store, what was their key question is, where do my shopper go? So they enter from here, where else do they go? And which part of the shelf do they engage with the most? And at what point do they interact with the staff? Was it before they start out and then they engage with the staff? So all of this. So it is a department stores is a very large and complex environment, and they're selling different things from fashion wear, men's and women, to homeware, to electronics, to toys. So again, it's a many different types as well. So it's not always feasible to cover every square foot, but even with strategic placement of some CCTV cameras, you can already extract deep insight into the shopper behavior on there. So for example, here, this store, we have 5-story and a total of 110 CCTV. You would need about 3 of the Centroid, and that would have been the cost per month for the whole department store. So this is what we're looking at. So in here again, we have a case studies as a measure. As I mentioned, the challenge is massive shop floor for that, and also it could have concession within. You have your brand's concession as well. So you're wanting to look at all that. For that, and again, they have limited staff visibility and so forth. So these are the things that we're going to cover. The most important is the journey and their demographic, service coverage, product engagement, and even the concession, and all this so you can track how different promotions, seasonal campaigns, layout changes can all impact the shopper behavior. So from all this, they can then feed it into an AI engine to give them a real time and a predictive intelligence on there. So let's look at some of the metrics that they can do. You can give an executive summary to say, a highlight, like 63% of the shopper receive no staff engagement. So this is then a measurable insight, not just a guesswork, my staff is doing well, my staff's not doing well, kind of thing. And then you can also see increment difference. So if you then make a strategic, how are you seeing it increasing from 63% to 73%? Even the 10% increment is improvement. Yeah. traffic, shopper traffic, journey behavior, the staff engagement, as we mentioned, staff engagement rate. What is that? What is the conversion rate with engagement? And you can see conversion rate without engagement. So, of course, it will be very clearly you need more engagement in your store. And when it's the peak missed opportunity, probably that's because that's your peak shopping time and you have not enough staff. Department performance, all the different department and their performance metrics, the shopper to sale funnel, the queue monitoring from the cashier to fitting room, what is their wait time and so forth, and campaign performance, of course, all your different marketing or specific campaign in your concession store and so forth, and the good behavior, your dead zone, operational recommendation. Are we recommending a staff shift strategy, queue response, a campaign coverage, or maybe a layout tweaks and all this? And that's your business value projection on that. So you can have a look and a reference on that. So next, we look in another case is a convenience shop. I wouldn't say the name, but you probably know some of the is very, very large worldwide chain that operates 24 hours. So it's not a big store, but it has got loads of store. And what challenges is night shifts. So they are very different set of challenges from all the other customer. So they have night shift. They have lone staff at night on the night shift. So the common issue is when you only have one staff and naturally you don't have a lot of customer during the night, but they still do come in. The worst thing you want is when they come in, your staff's not at the shop floor, they are at the back. So either theft or they want something and they couldn't pay. So all this, it becomes important to measure the proportion of the time spent at the front counter versus the back. And you also want to track during the peak hours, do the peak queues build up, and how long are the queues, how quickly are they cleared, and are customers being served promptly, or are there a consistent delay in the service? And at which shift and which time. And so these are all the kinds of operational metrics that once measured can turn into actionable improvements. So you can ensure better staff allocation, faster service during busy hours, or ultimately smoother experience for the customer, even during the low traffic hour. So the store normally is not very big. You probably just need 8 devices, but you have many stores for that. Now, there's another case studies for that here. So enhancing the staff efficiency for that. Mainly for them, the challenge is the lack of staff visibility and shelf readiness and stocking delays. And obviously understanding the customer pattern at different time of the day in the store profile. So these are some of the key metrics: staff activity profiling, checkout performance, and so forth. Store profile, shopper demographics, and the staff management evaluation. So some of these here, the key metrics from like your footfall and your promo and that, like the time on the shop floor, front of house, when how much time they are absent from the shop floor, stocking activity, service engagement, and so forth. Shift adherence. So you have a scheduled time as versus the actual active time that you actually spend on the shop floor, things like this, and feed all this into an AI recommendation to the staff. So when you have a condition is when you have a high footfall on the shop front, but your staff is in the storeroom. So you want to send an alert because they may be doing work in the storeroom. They probably have work to do, or maybe they were just lazing around on there, but you want to send an alert to them so that they can return to the shop floor to serve. Promo zone alert when there's no staff engagement there, you can then recommend again a staff alert to then they go to the campaign area. Night traffic peaking when you only have one staff is being active, then you can maybe recommend a dual shift. All this so that then you can have it. So you can check on them both there. So one last example we're going to talk about is a luxury retail, maybe a luxury fashion store. Again, you can then imagine how different their environment, their requirement would be. So these stores typically occupy large spaces. That could be their flagship store, but they place a very strong emphasis on the shopper experience. So what do their shopper care most? Where do the customers walk? Which zones do they linger in? Which display attract the most attention? And at what point they engage with the staff? So all these interaction matters, and every movement tells a story. So the ability to track all this behavior is to track it accurately is critical. So so all these shopper journey metrics were not previously available, and it's too costly to obtain. So, but now with the affordable, like the computer vision and integrated analytics, so luxury retailers can finally access these data-driven insights onto how the customers interact with the store on this. So another case study on here, luxury fashion store, high service expectation. So you need to make sure on there a customer staff and customer engagement. So you want to do the profiling without being invasive. So it's very strict GDPR, any privacy law compliance on there. We don't do facial recognition. But we train a local AI model that can really be able to bring out the demographic of your customer. So all this use case highlight here, customer journey, some of these metrics here. So shopper journey, shopper type, classification, or the demographic, the behavior. Are they browsing? Are they coming on their own, solo buyer, or they come here with a partner to buy presents on there. So you want to know this kind, not just male, female, but you also want to know this kind of behavior, and on which day, which time you have more of this, and what kind of conversion for this kind of customers. So that's very important. So this some kind of key metrics, as I mentioned before, engagement window, how long they engage with, conversion proxy, the percentage of staff being served plus dwell time of over how much, and what is the conversion on those, and so forth. Bounce rate, the zone interest, and so forth. And the time on the floor versus back room again, the shopper served count. So how many customer they serve per shift, and the interaction duration, and when they're overloaded, and engagement timing. So, how long does it take from the customer entering to it being approached by a staff? So approached by a welcome staff compared to then being approached by a serving staff, and so forth. And all that. So re-engagement and so forth. So, and these are the AI-powered prescriptive recommendations as well, specifically for the luxury fashion store. Yeah. So we briefly look at all this. These are all the metrics. We have a metrics document here, which you can then look at all those different metrics that we have there, that you can extract from. I've already gone through some of this, and let's look at some of the dashboards that we have. So what we are showing you here is like we have a video. So we have a video here that you can watch. You may not be able to log into the demo. So we have a video here where you can watch. We are showing you a live blob. So this is similar to here. So I'm going to just show you a live one here. So these are live blob of the actual person that is actually there is trying to load. The actual person that's actually at the store. So we can actually recognize who is a staff member, which zone that they move through, how long they dwell at the shelf or the display, and how long they dwell in the area for that, and how shopper interact with the staff across all this. That's another one. Like that's also a video for the museum as well that you can look at. So on there, what this one is for like counting like the ticketing booth, how many people are there queuing up, how many booths you have actually open, and a ticket where they actually enter into the museum, the queue length and so forth, and whether it's normal or you need attention or is really crowded. You can look at all this. So these are fundamental layers of the behavior analytics. And this is just to showcase how we're actually tracking on there. So from that, then you can obviously extract how long they spend in here, what is the queue, how many staff is actually opening to serve. When you have this, a lot of people, not all of the booths are open, or they're not using all of these gate or things like this. So this, so digitizing this is the key thing. So and all of these data, once it's digitized, then it can be normalized and structured and allow us to generate a rich set of analytics metrics. As I mentioned just now, from staff movement, customer engagement, dwell zone, and more. So we just want to give you a quick sense of the underlying intelligence behind the system and how it forms the basis of everything else you will see. So now moving on to like, then what you can get is like a store league table. So if you have lots of store, so all those metrics you will have there, and which is your best performing stores. And of course, if you then go down your worst performing store, from the footfall to the trend to turn-in rate, to visit duration, to sales conversion, to all that, and shopper engagement, staff shopper engagement rate, and then engage shopper to sales conversion on their queue abandonment, shelf fill rate, because it could be that your staff has been doing such a great job to have a very high engagement, but the customer is not converting. Why? Maybe because when they go to pay, the queue was ridiculous, so they abandon it, or the price just wasn't right, or for whatever reason, or you don't have stock. You sell so much and it's just gone. So you can have a look at that, and you can then look at different KPI over the last. You can look at specific store on that week, and then look at the last 12 weeks on all this different thing. And you might have set a target, and if it's not meeting target, it will be red. And then if it's meeting target, it will be green. So you're actually seeing the slow improvement over the weeks to now is being very good. So this is what you're wanting to look at. And of course, then, you know, your visitor over versus outside traffic or conversion, your hourly when you peak. So you know that that's when you really need a lot of staff, how long they spend your staff, what is the demographic. So you do have, looks like you have a lot of family because you're middle aged with the children and teenager coming in. It could be that, and your shopper and staff engagement. So again, like your shopper engagement rate, that engage to sales conversion, and again with the target that is set for the store, and if they have improved that and improving that, then obviously you want to see if you have increased in sales revenue, and if not, then maybe wanting to look at your stock level or pricing or whatever that is. And of course, then you can look at all these different things in the different zone. So you then drill down, you can drill down into the different week, and then you drill down to the different zone, and then how many passerby in the shopper type for that. You can then look at your queue as well, and also the shelf fill rate, the box on the floor, the shelf serving lag time for that, and then the queue time. You can then know when. So that was very busy day, but then it was probably handled well. But that was a busy day, so you have a lot of people, long queue, and it was not really handled very well on that day. And this one kind of like giving you an abandon rate, and you can then see so that's your target. You want your customer to queue less than 6 minutes, because after that, they're starting to abandon the queue. So things like this, so then you can look at that. What you can then do is then turn that into an AI analytics. So, you know, we can, this is your digital twin from your store do a 3D digital twin, and then you can not only looking at where your shelves are and things, your layout, your store layout, then you are now looking at, heat map through this. So when you have a digital twin, then you can then starting to ask the AI to simulate. For example, if I want to simulate a scenario, a product placement plan A. So you put in this plan, I'm moving like, for example, the men's apparel, it was previously at the shop front, I move it to the back of the shop. What is the impact? Then it will calculate based on your historical data, looking at all the nuances in between, because now you have millions of data points, and then it's going to simulate this. And as I mentioned, you want to just simulate plan A, B, C, D, E to plan Z. Then you can then find out which one is the best scenario for you before you actually implement that change. So all this becomes, when it comes together, it's not only just insightful and actionable in real time, you can actually predict and do a more, then your strategy will become, because the prediction is going to be very relevant, because you're not asking ChatGPT. You are asking the model that has been trained with your own data in your own model for your own business. So that prediction is very, very relevant to you here. Yes, so I think, so you can see that how it can probably help you on there. So I've already gone through this for that. So that wraps it up. So the key takeaway is that Centroid 48 is no longer just optional. It is a strategic imperative thing in shopper behavior inside the store was a black box in a retail operation, but not anymore with the Centroid 48. You can use the existing system there. Then you can look at all these metrics inside your store. It gives you a very quantifiable vision of what's actually happening in your store, and can give you a strategic tool to support your staff planning, product placement, conversion analytics, and all that. And at a very, very attractive cost, zero upfront cost, very low monthly fee. So there's no excuse not to try. So and we're predicting in 2 years' time, retailers without this data will fall behind. Because imagine what your competitor could do if they have this kind of insight, compare if you do not have this. So it's become, I would say, very important. It's not an alternative anymore. So I can encourage you to come for the future webinar as well to talk more about all these other topics. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Melissa, for that insightful and informative presentation. We've covered some valuable topics today, and we truly appreciate your expertise. A big thank you as well to everyone who joined us for today's workshop. Thanks again for being a part of today's session, and we look forward to seeing you at our next workshop.
Thank you.